Whew.
Not like anything important's been happening, huh?
Yeah, no.
When did you find out about Diana's retirement, and how?
When did I find out? Probably when I was in Phoenix, watching her play, and then I got a sense that would be the end of her career. But officially, today's Thursday. Yesterday, I would say over the weekend, probably. It was it wasn't even from her. So,
what do you think life after basketball is going to be like for her? It just seems like she's one person who would play forever if she could.
Yeah.
So what do you think it's going to be like for her to adjust?
I often wonder because there's a lot of players in her. I shouldn't say a lot of players, but the players in her situation tend to go one of two ways, right? They either completely walk away from it, like, I've done enough, I've had it, I'm out. And since I can't play at the level that I've always played at, I'm not going to touch a basketball ever again. Right? And then there's others that hang on because it's their life. It's the only thing they know. It's the only interest they have. It's, it's their identity. I don't think, and I haven't spoken to her about it yet, but I don't think her future revolves around her playing the game at even pickup games or playing in a fun atmosphere, unless it's with her kids, and I don't think there's a coaching aspect to it that she would enjoy. But I do think there's some basketball off the court related things that she's probably going to find herself getting involved in, whatever that is, I said to her one day, I said, you should be the Olympic coach. It's in LA. She goes, I've never coached before. I said, well, that's a shocker to everybody. Every coach you've ever played for thought you were trying to coach the team. So you've already coached. And it's LA, and you're from LA, and it would be the most amazing thing. We were laughing about it, and I think her response was somewhat, but do I have to go to the World Championships and go to practice and go all those tours? Can I stay in LA and wait for the team to get there? But I'm sure there's something involving USA basketball, the WNBA, the NBA, something that's going to involve her having some decision-making opportunities on how the game is going to go.
So she could be a talent evaluator.
No, she's a horrible talent evaluator because she thinks the best of everybody. And one time in Las Vegas during a training camp, I had her and Sue each pick a team that we're going to play against each other. And they could draft, and they had to draft. And when the two teams were playing, all she did was bitch about who was coaching the team. Since she was the general manager, she picked the team, somebody else was coaching it, her team was getting beat, and all she did was bitch about the coaching, not the fact that she picked a bad team. Okay? So, talent evaluator, I think being on TV and talking about what the game should look like, or owning a team and deciding this is how the game is supposed to look, like a Pat Riley kind of thing, because she's just that smart and she's that respected and that committed to winning.
She's been the face of every team she's ever played on, and she handles it in such an easygoing way. How much you admire how she's taken. A lot of people like to kind of pull back and maybe not enjoy the process as much. She seemed to enjoy every step of it.
I remember, to your point, there was never a time, high school, college, Olympics, any European team she was on, any the Olympic team, from the very first time that she's ever stepped on a court with a team. The minute she walks in the gym, it kind of takes on her personality, and she's okay with it, and she embraces it and lives up to it all the time. There's a quality that you have to be like that, and I guess you're born with it. You know, some people try to acquire it. I just think you're born with that. You know, you're born with that personality that she has, and you're born with that talent, and then she perfected it.
How would she be in this day and age playing as a student, do you think? I mean, we talked about the crazy times back in 03, 04, but if she was playing now with social media and all that stuff, as a college student, would that be even 10 times
She
worse?
wouldn't have been here after her freshman year. She would have put herself out to the highest bidder. NIL, as I said this before, she'd be on 4 different teams in 4 years. She would have maximized that whole thing. The whole NIL thing would have been a huge game for her to play, and the whole social media thing may not. I'll be honest with you, I'm kidding when I say all this. She's one of the most private people you'll ever meet until she's in front of a crowd, and then she's not. But you don't see her on social media, not like some of these other people that are all over it. That's not who she is. You know, she kind of stays in the background until she has to be in front of everybody, and then she's the best there ever was at that. You know, Dee would walk in here right now and only knows maybe 1 or 2 people in this room, 3. But she would walk around and give you a big hug and a kiss and say, "Hey, how you doing? How you been?" And then afterwards I would go, "You know that person?" You go, "No." But she makes everybody feel, you know, like you're part of her world.
So, you know, there's big list of great players, and there's a real short list of the greatest players: Tiger, Brady, Jordan, Diana. What is that one thing that separates those people from the great ones to become the greatest?
Their drive. You know, if you take in consideration they were all born with the talent, you know, that God-given ability. But not all those people have the drive, the commitment, the competitiveness, the will to win, always. So those people you just mentioned, they were the most talented, but they were also the most driven, and they were the smartest. You know, people think that, you know, you can accomplish those things because physically you're more gifted than everyone else. Those people you mentioned, they're brighter than everyone else. They know the game better than anyone else. And you put those combinations together, it's pretty hard to beat.
Were all those things evident the first time you saw her?
Yeah. Well, obviously you couldn't get deeper back in those days. You know, you couldn't have any contact. But there was something about her that was, I think in high school there was a tournament. I don't know, they must to play 3 games in 3 days or something. She either tied the game or won the game on the last shot, like in every one of those games. And so you already knew there's a moment that the game has to be decided, and she owns that moment. And then when she got here, we had a lot of really, really good players who were, man, they had won a national championship, if I'm not mistaken. They had won a national championship in 2000, right? And she walked in the gym, and first day of practice, second day of practice, third day of practice, they knew right away, this is the best player in the gym every day. Now, she had a lot of Sarah Strong in her. She didn't want to show that every minute of every day, every possession, because she was very deferential to those guys. She appreciated they won a national championship. I've not won anything. But they all knew, and we all knew, that there's something different about this kid than everybody else.
So in 2002 against Oklahoma, when you have the best senior class
Yes.
ever here, you drop the play for her.
Absolutely. And they knew it. They knew that's where the ball was going. The other team knew that's where the ball was going. The things that she could do on the court, God gave her the size to be able to do. We were playing. I want to say Arizona State one year, and we knew they were the most physical team we had played up to that point, and we played her. So Paige is not the first guard on our team that ever played power forward. So we put her in the lane the whole game. She must have shot 20 free throws, 25 free throws. I forget what it was. It was a ridiculous number. But you could put her anywhere on the floor, and she would be the best player at that position in the country.
We've asked you through the years who the best player ever was here because you've had so many great ones, and you'd be hesitant to answer, but then you might tell us privately, but you know what? If we have one game to win and one possession to win it, I'm going to give it to Diana. I mean, does that kind of tell you that she may be the most competitive? Or
Yeah. You know, sometimes people, when they talk about who's the best ever, you know, how do you quantify who's the best ever? So I just think that when you talk about until somebody comes along and does more, who's the greatest winner ever in college women's basketball history, then that's who you got to go with, because no one else even comes close. So if you had to win a game, I mean, if some of those other guys you were talking about on my team were on the team, it'd be great. I'd just close my eyes and point to any of them. But still, yeah, there's something that she had. That,
Person closest to her is probably was her backcourt mate, right?
Yeah, you know, the two of them individually were the kind of players you want with the ball in their hands at the last moment. But, you know, again, if they both got triple teamed and they passed it to Maya, we'd still win. You know what I mean? If four of them guarded them, she passed it to Stewie, we'd still win. So to be in that situation, yeah, not very many people get to experience that.
is leading the 2003 and 2004 cast of characters you had to national championships maybe the greatest individual?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think anyone's ever been in that situation ever before or since that I can remember, given the inexperience of that team and the youth of that team. Yeah, it was just, and it wasn't like it just happened in the Final Four or anything like that. We, as coaches, we saw it the second week of training camp that year, because we had just lost such a great cast of players that the expectation even on our staff was, man, this is going to be hard. And after 2 weeks of practice, we looked at each other and we went, man, this is going to be just like last year. And no one would, we said, no one's going to believe this. You could just see it. You could, because now the real her was going to come out. You know, before it was, you know, I'm playing along with these guys out of respect. And it was going to be the real me coming out.
And she did it while getting beat up the whole time.
Yeah. Paige should stop whining. She's not the first great player here that gets beat up every possession. You know, she should watch films of how much more physical the game was back then, and how difficult it was, and how difficult people made it for Dee to get done what she got done. But the difference, and you know, because the game is not nearly as physical today, when it does get physical, everybody loses their mind. Back then, because the game was way more physical, Dee embraced the physicality. You know, we have a clip of where a rebound that she got down at Tennessee. I don't know if you guys have seen it. A rebound that she got, and she's tangled up You know, somebody's got her arm behind her and she's tangled up, and yes, she gets the ball with her left hand and she's fighting the kid off with her right hand. And there's this big smile on her face, like this is the greatest thing that's ever happened. Like the fight, the struggle is, she didn't complain about it. She embraced it.
How are you better? How are you better, really, for having known Diana, not just Coach Diana?
I just think there's few people that that come around that can affect everyone, whether it's positive or negative. Don't get me wrong, but there's never anyone that's ever, including me and anybody in my family, my mom. You know, they had a great relationship because there's no one that's ever met her that you would come away and go, ah, you know, there was like a real, whew, wow, you know. So for me personally, when she was here, it went by way too fast, you know. And to me, the best thing that ever happened to me in my coaching career was that I got an opportunity to do it again for those 8 years, you know, between 2008 and 2016. I mean, who gets a chance to do that? So not only did I have the opportunity for those 4 years in college, but then I got 8 more. So yeah, 12 of those years were just, and I'm not even talking about just on the court stuff. The stuff that no one will ever know that was going on off the court was just beyond. Yeah, those are the stories that won't appear in anybody's book.
You referenced Sarah Strong. How do you think she's handled this? Well, there was a lot on her when she got here, and it seems like, you know, she's more than exceeded all the expectations. How do you think she's grown as a player?
I mean, you watch her. I mean, if you watch her, can you tell? So whatever you know about her, that's how much I know.
Yeah.
She's the same every minute of every day. There's almost never a time when you're going to see a different version of Sarah in terms of how she appears, how she carries herself, how she reacts to things. And I think that's probably why she's able to handle and have the kind of success that she's having, because she doesn't suffer the highs and lows that young kids do. So the expectations that other people may have had for her, I don't know, but internally, the expectations that we had when we were recruiting her, she's right about where I thought she'd be.
Someone asked her about the game. One of the games, she talked about her missed shots instead of her rebounds and her blocks and her steals and all that.
Yeah.
All the great players have that.
That's the thing that does separate a lot of those players is they want to be perfect. They want to be great. They want to be successful at everything they do. So when they are, and you bring it up, they just shrug it off like, this is what I do, this is who I am. But what stays with them is the silly mistakes or the, you know, I don't know if you saw her reaction when she threw that pass against Tennessee to Paige that went out of bounds. I mean, she took that really, really, really hard, like I cost us the game, even though she was the best player on our team in that game. In her mind, if I complete that pass, you know, we have a chance to win the game. That's what stays with her. And that's why she just keeps getting better and better and better. And that's why she'll be great, because she does take those things to heart. She doesn't just blow them off like, you know, some other people might.
You guys have a pretty big game tomorrow night with a chance to
Yeah.
win the Big East regular season title. How important is that in terms of your guys' just goal of ultimately winning a national championship?
I don't know that one has anything to do with the other, to be honest with you. There's been a couple years when we lost in the Big East tournament and went on to win the national championship. And I remember telling people that back in those days, winning the Big East was harder than winning the national championship, because we had 9 teams that went into the NCAA tournament. It's more about, you know, pride in the fact that you set that as a goal. Like, our goal is to win the regular season, and if you win tomorrow and then you win Sunday, you win the regular season. So you accomplish a goal. Does that make you better equipped to win the national championship? No, it doesn't. Does it hurt your chances? No. All it does is means you're not going to be the Big East champion by yourself. You're going to have to share it with somebody if you win on Sunday. So we have a really tough game tomorrow night because they're a really good team that's hard to match up with. And they have a really hard game tomorrow night because we're a really good team that's hard to match up with. And that's why, games like tomorrow are important because you are going to have to work harder than you had to work the last couple of games. And you are going to have to be better. Yeah, it's going to be hard tomorrow. It's supposed to be.
How often during the season, particularly as you come down the stretch and get towards March, do you start to really consider a body of work and think about what the team might be capable of in March?
I don't know. I think there's a point in time during the season where you see things and you think to yourself, we don't have a chance to win the whole thing because we have too many blemishes. There's too many things wrong with our team. We don't have enough answers for things that are happening to us. And then as the season goes on, maybe you start to fix those start to go away. But there's too many variables for me right now for me to sit here and go, I think we should be the favorite to win a national championship based on what I've seen. Somebody said this to me just yesterday. Hey, I was watching the South Carolina game, and right after the game, I saw it on the ticker that you guys were now the favorite to win the national championship, and you can bet on games on TV. So obviously this person didn't know a whole lot about what was going on. And they go, how's that possible that could happen in one day? I said, yeah, how's that possible that it could happen in one day? Because sometimes you have performances that, if you're not careful, will overshadow some of the other performances that you had. But those didn't go away just because you had one fantastic game. Those are still there, and those are always in the back of my mind, So, yeah, believe me, we got a long way to go before we can talk about national championships with this team. Let's hope we're talking about it the night before that game.
Do you have a plan for Caroline? To play a little more, or is it?
Yeah, they gave her some guidelines, a couple minutes, a quarter here and there, just to see how she responds to it. So the biggest thing too is going to be finding time. You come in after 28 games or 27 games, and then you got Aubrey back, and then come in. Ice is going to be back maybe this weekend. So at a time when teams are shrinking their rotation, we're adding players, so it's not how much time is she allowed to have, it's finding time for all these guys that are coming back that are looking for time. That's going to be the big dilemma, I think.
There was a stretch early in the season when Easy was out that you had Paige and a bunch of players who were still learning what UConn basketball was. Now you have Carol, now you have Easy, now you have Aubrey. How's that changed things in practice, that you just have players that kind of know the drills and know what's expected of them here?
Yeah, practices have been really, really good. We're really, really good the whole month of pretty much January and most of February. Practices have been consistently good, and I think that's carried over into the games that we've played. We don't practice as much now as before, so maybe that's why they're good. But the things that come up in practice, are hard. They're hard they're hard to fix sometimes, and the biggest challenge for us right now is there are some combinations that look fantastic out there that if I could, I would play that combination 40 minutes every night. And you saw that last year. You get 5 guys out there that can really play together, and you play them 40 minutes every night, pretty damn good, right? Right? Takes you all the way to almost to the championship game. And there's other combinations that don't look as great, and then there's some combinations that if you have them out there more than 3 minutes, you're going to lose the game. So all these things are what happens in practice, and these are the things that stay, with our coaching staff. How do we now start to learn what are the combinations that work best? And at the same time, how do you give people minutes that they need? So that's right now. That's what we're trying to do.
Geno, the NCAA is trying to figure out revenue sharing, and this week the Connecticut legislative branches looks like they've agreed upon a plan. Have you been following that at all? And if you have you had any input, or do you see how it would help you going forward?
Well, it's a fact of life now that revenue sharing is here. And if you wait for the NCAA to tell you what the revenue sharing plan is, you're going to be left behind. And the fact that each state can make their own their own laws about how we're going to deal with it, that just throws another wrench into the mix, right? So for Connecticut to step out and say, regardless of what the NCAA says, obviously we're going to stay compliant, but this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And to me, you have to have a revenue sharing plan. The biggest obstacle to any plan is how are you going to fund it? Well, it's called revenue sharing. Well, revenue sharing at one school, revenue at one school isn't the same as revenue at another school. So I think we have a really good situation here because, our program is a high revenue producing program. So between what the state is going to be allowing us to do and what our athletic department wants to do, we're going to be competitive with any school in the country when it comes to revenue sharing.
Now, there's a lot of lasts kind of coming up for Paige right now, but I want to ask about it first. Do you remember the first time you ever heard of Paige Beckers?
I remember seeing her in a game. I think maybe it was in Indianapolis or someplace. She just kept running on the court and playing and then running off the court because she was out of breath all the time because she weighed about 60 pounds. And I said, what's all the fuss over this kid? Like, she's on the court. It was like watching a hockey game. She would do her minute and a half and then she'd get off. And it just kept happening the entire game. And I remember saying to Marissa, I said, Marissa, I don't get this. And obviously, when you saw her healthy, when you saw her at 100%, a week later, whenever it was, you could see that there was a different way that she played, that she saw the game, and then I distinctly remember going to her high school to watch a game at her high school, and the hysteria up there had started already with how she created all these highlights because of just the way she saw the floor, the way she saw everything that was happening, and her willingness to pass. And so I tried to get to as many games as I could just because I enjoyed watching. I wasn't evaluating her anymore. I was just enjoying watching her play. But yeah, that seems like forever ago. It's a lot that's happened between then and now.
From the outside, your relationship with her looks like it's a great, sarcastic, give and take relationship. How would you describe it?
My relationship with Paige, it's It's one of those where love and hate, I guess they call it, right? I love it when I hate her, and she loves when she hates me, because then that means we're both on the right track. There's something I want her to do, and she's arguing with me about it. There's something that she wants, and I'm not letting her do it. So our relationship on the court is I'm constantly bitching about something that I want her to do. She's wanting to do things that she wants to do. And so we're always going back and forth. And it works because she wants to stretch the boundaries as far as she possibly can. And I want to make sure that she's growing as a player and she's learning and she's preparing for what's coming next, where that's not going to be possible, all the time. But off the court, yeah, none of that matters because, she's not a freshman anymore. She's not a little kid anymore. I can coach her like an adult, which she is, So yeah, I mean, our relationship is great. I'm glad we have two of them. I'm glad we have the on the court one, and I'm glad we have the off the court one.